Hi everyone, welcome back to our international marketing class. In the last class, we have discussed about global marketing strategies. What are the challenges in implementing the global marketing strategies and what are the tools that can be successful for implementing the global marketing strategies we have discussed in the last class. And in this class, we are going to discuss about negotiating with international customers or international middlemen. How to negotiate and what are the situations that will be actually make necessary of these international negotiations and how to deal with different cultures while this negotiation. So this is what actually we are going to discuss today. So if you remember, in the last class we have discussed about global strategies, how to implement the global strategies. Once the global strategies have been formulated, once the marketing research has been conducted, has been done, once the strategies related to products, strategies related to pricing, promotion, and the decisions about the place have been made, then the manager's focus should shift to implementation of the plans. Once all the plans have been formulated, then the manager should focus on implementation of those plans. Right? Implementation is not that much easy, as we have discussed in the last class. In international business, such plans are almost always implemented through face-to-face negotiations with the business partners and customers from foreign countries. Almost all the discussions will be done by face-to-face negotiations. So usually, if you can recall our discussion on the cultural diversity with different countries. So try to recall, like we have discussed about the cultural differences of various countries, and we have also discussed about the implementation of global strategies. If you can link these two, the cultural differences of different countries, right, and the implementation of global strategy, right, so they are actually linked. The cultural differences directly affect the negotiation, right? So that is why try to try to make the relevance of these two, so you'll come to know like what is the impact of culture on the negotiation. So that is why today we are going to discuss about the pervasive impact of culture on negotiation behavior. Definitely the results of negotiation will be influenced by the cultural considerations. If the negotiator does not consider the cultural differences, it may not be possible to get success in the negotiations. So the cultural differences cause four kinds of problems in international business negotiations. What are the four? Language, nonverbal behaviors, values, and the last one is thinking and decision making processes. Today we are going to discuss about these four: language, nonverbal behaviors, values, and thinking and decision making processes. So these are the four different problems that usually any negotiator face in international negotiations, and the order is important while discussing about these four elements or four problems. Why? Because the problems lower in the list are more serious, because they are more subtle. For example, here the last one is thinking and decision making process is very crucial. Then values. The values are very crucial. The non-verbal behaviors, and the non-verbal behaviors are very important than language. So that is why the order is also important. right? So the cultural differences in nonverbal behaviors, on the other hand, are almost always hidden below our awareness. The negotiator may not know, like, the impact of culture will be there on the negotiation, but hiddenly, definitely, our behavior while dealing with the foreign middlemen, or maybe while dealing with the foreign customers, will definitely affect the negotiation. But hidden, it may not expose, like, actually what they are feeling about our discussion. We can actually influence that person by considering his culture, like his non-verbal behavior, and as well as by our non-verbal behavior, by showing in favor of that person. So that is why hiddenly there will be a huge impact of culture on the negotiation process. So the first element, the first problem is language. So the differences in language and non-verbal behaviors, how do they affect the negotiations? Yes, the linguistic problems arise during the negotiations within international customers or any middleman. Maybe with the international customers, or maybe with any other middleman, like maybe suppliers, or maybe any other channel members. So whatever, but while, because here we are dealing with many different countries, that means different languages. Even if the language is known by the negotiator also, if not proficient, you know, it may not be easy to negotiate. That means it may not be easy to get the expected result in the negotiation, because the, without knowing an accurate or exact word, it will be very difficult to express the same intended meaning that what actually you are trying to express. So that is why knowing the language is very important. Language is the key element to deliver the message effectively. Studying in foreign language is an essential tool for obtaining information about a country. So that is the best way of learning about the country. What are the non-verbal behaviors? What is the exact language and everything we can actually know if we can study there in that country. That means we can recruit the people who studied there, will be an effective tool for the organization. So if you take an example, Americans are very clearly quite near the bottom of the languages skill set, but they know very well when it compares to Australians. Like Australians are even worse, right? So that is how the cultural languages skill sets are different in various countries. Consistent with most descriptions of Japanese negotiation behavior, the results of this analysis suggest their style of interaction is among the least aggressive. Japanese are the least aggressive when compared. They are very calm, most polite. The Japanese in the negotiations, it's, while discussing by sitting all on the round table, the discussion goes on calmly. They are not very aggressive. But when it comes to Brazilian business people and French and Spanish, even some Arab countries also, usually they are very aggressive. So because they use the second highest percentage of commands of all the groups, even though each and every person, he tries to dominate the entire discussion by showing the aggressiveness. How we can know that? By knowing some words what they are using, by showing by observing some non-verbal behaviors, that how they are showing their attitude. By that we can say whether they are aggressive or not. For example, on an average, the Brazilians said the word no 42 times. Even we Indians use this word many times. Actually, it doesn't give a good sense. while others are speaking, no, what you are talking is wrong. So such kind of no's are used 42 times within an half an hour, and you 90 times is used. That means 3 times in a minute is used the word. What is the word? You. You. That is not the polite way of discussion, right? And another impolite way of discussion is touch one another on the arm. Touching one another on the arm is also aggressive way of negotiation. And about they are doing this touch about 5 times during the 30 minutes of negotiation. So that is why what we are saying is these people are aggressive. So the facial gazing was also high in these Brazilians, French, even Spanish, and various Arab countries. So the next one is after discussing about language and nonverbal behaviors, what we have discussed just now, and the third one is differences in values. Value systems are different from country to country. There are 4 values. Okay? The third element is value. Under that, there are 4 elements in values. Right? These all together will give the meaning of values. What are the 4? Objectivity, competitiveness, equality, and punctuality. So these 4 elements, which are held strongly and deeply by most Americans, seem to frequently cause misunderstandings and bad feelings in international business negotiations. Right? So now we'll discuss about these 4 elements and try to understand about the differences in values among different countries. The first element in values is objectivity. The single most important book on the topic of negotiation, getting yes, that is objectivity, right? What we are aiming at this negotiation is making them to say yes. So that objectivity is highly recommended for the marketers. Whatever we are telling, whatever we are doing, non-verbal, like facial expressions, or maybe like gestures and postures, whatever we are doing, all the things should be at the objectivity of making them to say yes. The latter will learn not only about negotiations but perhaps more important about how Americans think about negotiations. The others are quite emphatic about separating the people from the problem and the state. So what is the strategy that works out for dealing with these objectivities? Separate the people from the problem. For example, we are dealing with one discussion. Focus on the discussion, whoever is there in front of us, but we are here to discuss, we are here to negotiate. So our aim is they should say yes. So keep on the discussion and keep on your objectivity in your mind. So that is the strategy works out in this negotiation. Every negotiator has 2 kinds of interest, in the substance and in the relationship. The advice is probably quite worthwhile in the United States of America or perhaps in Germany, but in most places in the world, such advice is nonsense. This advice that every negotiator has 2 kinds of interest, one is in substance, another one is in relationship, most of the times it is, it may not be correct. In India, it might be correct, because they will have 2 kind of interests. One is substance and another one is relationship is also important, and substance is also important in India. But in the countries like US or Germany, it may not it may not be appropriate strategy, right? And second element is competitiveness, and we will also discuss about competitiveness and equality. So while dealing with these negotiations, whether actually should we deal with them like they are our competitors, or should we deal them with a view that they are equal to us? For example, in a project, uh, A contractor is dealing with the client. So what is the way that they deal with? The client is superior to the contractor. The contractor should feel in that way, or maybe he may feel like, okay, you have given me the project to do that, you are paying for it, and I am doing that. So both we are equal. So should they feel in that way? The feeling is different among different countries. Simulated negotiations can be viewed as a kind of experimental economies wherein the values of each participating cultural group are roughly reflected in the economic outcomes. The simple simulation is used in the study represents the essence of commercial negotiations. It has both competitive and cooperative aspects. Majorly, this competitive and cooperative aspects both are actually right, but in the different countries. At least 40% business people from each culture played the same buyer seller game, negotiating over the prices of three products. In the study, it was found that most of the business people, they use the same kind of game, that is the buyer seller game. So like they will majorly focus on the negotiation of pricing in order to make the negotiation successful. The Japanese were the champions at making the big pie big, means while making good results, Japanese are quite good. Their joint profits in the simulation were the highest according to the study, right? About they are the highest successful negotiators. Who? The Japanese. Among the study was conducted among 18 cultural groups, and among the 18 cultural groups, the Japanese found successful negotiators. Americans have little understanding of the Japanese practice of giving complete preference to the needs and wishes of the buyers. You know, they will not. The Americans, they do not feel like the buyer and seller are equal. So we should also give the value to the buyers, and their interests. Americans, they do not feel in that way. That is not the way of the things work in America. They do not think in that way. What they always, the commercial kind of negotiations can be seen in America. Moreover, most Americans will by nature the Japanese buyers more frequently as equals. They treat the Japanese buyers more frequently as equals. But what will happen? The American buyers will generally not take care of American sellers or Japanese sellers. So they do not treat equally each other, right? So that is how this competitive and equality is different among different countries, nature or the cultures. And the next difference element in values is time. So just make them wait, is some kind of strategy used by different cultures. Everyone else in the world knows no negotiation tactic is more useful with Americans, because no one places more value on time in America. No one has less patience when things go slow down, and no one looks at their wristwatches more than Americans do. They are very time conscious, and if anything goes slowly, they cannot tolerate in America. The material on P time versus M time is quite pertinent here. The Edward T. Hall, in his writing, has given the best at his explaining how the passage of time is viewed differently across cultures and how these differences most often hurt Americans. There are basically two kinds of natures according to this using the time or following the time: P time and M time. M time, monocratic time users, and polycratic time users. This M type uh, time users, they always want everything to be done as per the schedule. Something is planned at 10 o'clock, it should be started at 10 o'clock, and if we plan it to be finished at 12 o'clock, it should be finished. That is how this M time kind of people think. Whereas P time of kind of people, how do they feel is, they do not plan all these things, you know. They usually like to do many number of works at the same time. So what will happen, sometimes if any work is delayed, all the remaining works will be delayed. So as they do not have any plan, they will go accordingly, so all the works, all the schedules will be disturbed. So it may not be tolerated by M kind of people. So that is why, if in the negotiation both the type of people are existing, usually a lot of arguments can be happened in that negotiation. And next is about decision making process. Before this, we will also finalize this time. So in different countries, the delays are not tolerated equally in all the countries. They cannot bear the delays in few countries, whereas in India also what we can observe is the people, usually some delay is expected by everyone, right? So which is not acceptable in Japan or Germany. So that is how different. And even in America, differences in thinking and decision making processes is also different. So I hope if you are following, we have discussed about the four elements of values, right? Here, in the values we have discussed about four elements. What are they? Objectivity, competitiveness and equality, 3, and time is the fourth one, right? And after that, one more difference in culture is differences in thinking and decision making process. When faced with complex negotiation tasks, most Westerners divide the large task up into a series of smaller tasks, and then they'll go with the negotiation. For example, if you are dealing with a complete business, like constructing a building, usually what they will do is plumbing, we will separate it and we will negotiate on this. Once it is finalized, we will go for some other thing like electrical work, and we will go for some other work. Like, they will divide it into smaller tasks and negotiate. Issues such as prices, delivery, warranty and service contracts may be settled one issue at a time, with the final agreement being the sum of the sequence of smaller agreements. Even though everything is discussed and negotiated, but final agreement will be being the sum of the sequence of all smaller agreements. About pricing is one agreement is made. About warranty, one more contract is made, and finally by accumulating all these things, by summing up all these things, a final agreement will be made between the negotiators. In Asia, however, different approach is more often taken over, wherein all the issues are discussed at once in no apparent order, and concessions are made on all issues at the end of the discussions. First, let us discuss in Asia, means even in India also. Once, let us discuss about the basic things, and then we'll go for concessions and everything at the end of the discussions. The Western sequential approach and the Eastern holistic approach do not mix well. They cannot be used together. They cannot be used simultaneously, right? So because the thinking processes are different from the Western countries to the Eastern countries. So that is why both the approaches cannot be mixed up together and cannot be used. For example, American managers report great difficulties in measuring progress in Japan. After all, in America, you are half done when half the issues are settled, but in Japan, nothing seems to get settled. Then, surprise, you're done. You understood? In America, what is happening here is measuring the progress is very difficult for the American managers in Japan, because in America, if half of the things are done, we may think like almost is done. But in Japan, because their decision making processes are different, even half of the things are settled also, we may not think like it is finalized. Right? Progresses in the talks should not be measured by how many issues have been settled. Instead of that, what Americans are doing is Americans must try to gauge the quality of the business relationship. In India also, the decision making is done majorly on the you know, relationship. Building up a relationship is very important in India. The decision making will be affected by making the good relationship before going to the commercial issues. So, what are the important signals that we can imagine like there is a progress in the negotiation? The higher level of foreigners being included in the discussions means there is a progress in the negotiation. Their questions beginning to focus on specific areas of the deal, then we may assume like there is a progress, something is going good. A softening of their attitudes and position on some of the issues, like let us take some time to study this issue, is a signal that something is moving on. The negotiation table increased talk among themselves in their own language, which may be often mean they are trying to decide something. In order to, before saying yes, the people may discuss themselves in their own language, like yeah, whatever he's saying is, I feel it's okay. What do you feel? Such kind of discussions can be done before saying yes to the negotiator. So that may give a sense like something is working out. Increased bargaining and use of the lower level informal and other channels of communication. If they are using informal communication also, you may feel like okay, they are getting closer, means maybe it will work out. Such kind of signals we can identify. That is how actually we can understand the thinking processes or the decision making processes in the negotiations. These cultural differences we will discuss in the next class. So, however, in this class we have discussed about the implications of culture on the international negotiations. In the next class, we will discuss about how the cultures are different among different countries. So, for today, we have discussed about these implications of culture. Thank you.